But the Florida Gators did just get a commit in four-star wide receiver Izaiah Williams, and we're going to talk about that on this special live bonus episode of Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to this live episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We're available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, review, do whatever it is you want to do. Join the Locked On Gators Discord. The link's in the description below. But the Florida Gators got to commit because that's what Blue Chip Billy does. Like, he gets commits. He does that. And this time the commit comes in the form of four-star composite wide receiver, Izaiah Williams from Tampa. He held offers because this kid's offer sheet, like the offer list is just ridiculous. He had 27 offers. Some of those schools include Bama, Arkansas, Colorado, Florida State, Georgia, LSU, Michigan State, Penn State, Tennessee, a ton of these Power 5 programs. And by the way, there was a lot more Power 5 programs. I just named ones that have value to Florida right now. But yeah, Izaiah Williams coming in for the Florida Gators is huge. Like, there is no other way to put it. We'll talk about the actual class itself, but just talking a little bit about Izaiah Williams. He's a difficult eval is what we'll call him. He's difficult evaluation just because so much of his junior season was missed due to a broken collarbone. So not a ton of film on him there. But then you see the testing numbers and what he's done at camps where, I mean, he's a speed demon. He has 4.46 speed coming out of high school. That ain't easy to do, and that ain't something you can teach, right? Like, you can't teach height, you can't teach speed. You just can't do those things. So 4.46 speed is phenomenal. And I know that a lot of people are like, well, if we're talking about legit speed, it's got to be like 4.4 and faster. 4.46 is still pretty damn fast. I'm gonna tell you the truth about that one. So yeah, there's not much game film on him, but the expectation, just given his testing numbers, given what he's done at camps and in these little, we'll call them workouts, he's expected to be a riser. He is. Obviously, his senior year will really determine how much of a riser, and that also might hinder him a little bit. I feel like there's not a ton of senior risers. You just don't see that too much because for some reason recruiting sites are like, well, we're on to the next important year, which is the junior year. So that's the most important one. But I would still expect to see Izaiah Williams as a riser. And it's very clear that although production was not there in his junior year and the film is not there in his junior year, just looking at who offered him and looking at who was trying to bring him in, yeah, you can probably be pretty confident that Izaiah Williams is a highly sought after player. He's also just a great athlete overall. I know broad jump is good for him. I know 40-yard dash was that 4.46. We have 100-meter was like, there was like 10.92 or 10.94 in that range. So he's a fantastic athlete to come into this class. Cannot wait for it. I will say, as far as the class goes, Izaiah Williams is the 8th overall commit for this class so far, and he's the first receiver to commit to this class. So that's huge. They got DJ Lagway, a pass catcher, because that's kind of important to have when you're a quarterback. So you get DJ Lagway's first pass catcher, and just to go down the list, this is in order of their ranking 2024 class. DJ Lagway, Xavier Filsaime, Adarius Hayes, Myles Graham, Chauncey Bowens, Izaiah Williams, Kahnen Daniels, and Josiah Davis. Look at that. Look at that. Can I get that? Can I get the sunglasses in the chat? Can I get that from you? If you're watching from a spot where you can comment, can I get the sunglasses emoji in the chat just for Big Billy there? Just to get that kind of love. But this is another commit for the Florida Gators from the state of Florida. It's a little different this time around. Like you look at 2023 and the first chunk of commits almost exclusively Florida. This time, you've got 3 from Florida, you've got 2 from Texas. Your 2 highest rated are from Texas. You've got 2 from Georgia, and then you've also got 1 from Mississippi in Kahnen Daniels. So you've got just a bit more of a broader stroke here in terms of who Billy Napier and this coaching staff are recruiting. This is also Billy Gonzalez's first commit back since he came back since Dan Mullen left. So this is Billy Gonzalez's first commit with the Florida Gators from the high school level. So that's huge as well. I'm going to get to the chat. If you have any questions, throw them in there. We're going to talk about the rest of this recruiting class. But first, this episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Built Bar. It's Cinco de Mayo. So we're celebrating the commit. We're celebrating Cinco de Mayo. We're going to have a great weekend, right? That's the plan. That's what I think it is. But afterwards, you have to deal with the consequences. And you're trying to stay fit, trying to stay healthy. Make sure to include Built Bar in your diet plan. Most bars are coated in 100, or all bars are coated in 100% chocolate, so they hit the sweet tooth, which is all I care about, really. Most bars have 130 calories, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Also, Built Bar's finally in stores. You can go to built or builtbar.com, or you can go to your local Walmart or Sam's Club and get yourself that Built Bar. Now, thanks again. I appreciate everybody that tunes into these, especially when they're like impromptu live streams. Like I love that people tune in. It will never cease to amaze me that people tune in to watch this. Because without y'all, I'm just a dude with a microphone speaking into my computer. But thank you. Like, subscribe, comment, review, all that fun stuff. Join the Locked On Gators Discord. Links in the description below. If you're not in there, rude. But like I was mentioning before, Izaiah Williams is the Florida Gators' 8th commit for the 2024 class. Florida now has the 11th ranked class in the country, passing Wake Forest and North Carolina, which I know passing those schools is not exactly a sign of being an elite company, but just 1 point behind Tennessee. It's also important to note that Florida is now the number 11 class in the country, but with only 8 commits, whereas you look at all of the schools ahead of Florida are in double digits. You look at Tennessee, who's a 1.65 points ahead of Florida. Tennessee's got 2 more commits, no 5 stars, whereas Florida has 4 5 stars according to 24/7, which I believe that is their ranking, not the consensus. I think DJ Lagway is the only consensus 5 star. But then you look at Oregon, who's 2.6 points ahead of Florida. They've got 10 commits. South Carolina, 10 commits. Florida State, 11. Penn State, 13. LSU, 14. Like the quantity isn't there right now. But this is the second year in a row where we go, yeah, the quantity's not really there right now, but the quality is undeniably there. And that's an important part here that we're talking about. And Down South just said, according to On3, Florida's got the number 4 class in the country, which is honestly equally bonkers. We'll see what that looks like if On3 wants to load while I'm trying to look at this. National ranked, it's Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Florida. That is ridiculous. So Florida's ahead of Michigan, South Carolina, Florida State, Notre Dame, LSU, Penn State. That's incredible. That just it's wild to me. Just be happy with the commit. Dang, I don't know what that's not about. But yes, Izaiah Williams is the first receiver to commit in the class. Izaiah Williams is the 6th highest commit, still a 4-star, because once again, you look at blue chip ratio, and you talk about having your head coach being blue chip Billy. That's what he is. 7 of the 8 commits so far are blue chip commits. The only not blue chip, the only not 4-star is Josiah Davis, who is ranked nationally 494th. We'll see if he rises because, I feel like every time there's a commit, everyone is just like, "Oh, well, he's gonna be a riser. He's gonna be a riser." Someone has to fall, right? But I do think when you look at Izaiah Williams, he's genuinely got the best case to be a riser right now from this Gators class, just because he didn't really play as a junior. So he shows up and he just plays well, and it's like, okay, like, now he's doing it on the field when it matters, not just on the field in these 7-on-7s or in the OT 7-on-7s, anything. So that's where Izaiah Williams genuinely has riser potential. I don't know how much, like, right now he's 325th nationally. I don't know if he's gonna pass Chauncey Bowens in 205. I don't think he's going to rise up enough to pass, like, Myles Graham at 49, but it's still a riser, and we will always take those risers whenever we get them. Ryan Smith said, "Does anyone in here think Napier is making excuses for the delay in the transfer portal?" I don't really think so. Like, I think Napier is giving the reason why things are taking long, and people are going, "Oh, he's making excuses." Like, I think Billy Napier has said, like, "We spent a bunch of time evaluating a kid, and then, we were told he wasn't gonna get into Florida anyway." And I think people are going like, "Oh, that's an excuse. The administration is the issue here." And I don't think that's the case. I think Napier was just saying, "We spent time evaluating a player because we do evaluate our players very heavily." And then, it ended up being a waste because it's like, "Well, he can't get it anyway." Which I don't think is an excuse. I think that's the reason. Like, I think an excuse is something that you're saying to kind of cop out, and I think Billy's just like, "Yeah, like, we evaluated the kid, and he couldn't get in." Sucks to suck, but it's there. What's up? Ethan is here. Eddie Sewell's here. Yeah, I think that for me, I like. Look, I would like Florida to be more aggressive in the transfer portal and more successful in the transfer portal. But again, outside of Colorado, there really hasn't been many schools that have been like cleaning up in the transfer portal. I think that a lot of people expected it to be as crazy as the first portal, but it's just not. And we'll see if that changes at all. But thank you so much for tuning in here. I very much appreciate you hanging out with me for these, what's probably going to end up being 14 minutes. But I very much appreciate you hanging out with me. I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, this is probably not your first listen of the day at this point because it's the afternoon. Like it's probably not your first listen. Might be your last listen, but we'll be back Monday to talk about the Florida Gators football team again, whether it's high school recruiting, transfer portal. We're building this roster, okay? I'm playing an NCAA 14 dynasty mode now. That's what this show is. It's me taking over the Florida Gators. But for Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olson. Don't forget to follow me on Whole Nine Sports. Twitter is WNS_Brandon. Giants Country NFL 33. I appreciate you all for tuning in and taking time out of your day to come hang out with us. And I will see you all Monday.